Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be sharing the predicted paper for MA1 2HR. I've gathered all of the topics that I think will be appearing in paper 2. This is the first version for paper 2 HR. I'll be showing the second version for paper 2 HR right before the exam. And for someone who's new to the channel, please subscribe and like the video if you think this video was useful for you and it helps you with the exam prep. So let's start with the questions. So the first question says, the table gives information about the number of days that 100 cars were in an airport car park. Write down the model class. So model class is basically that class that has the highest frequency. So if you look at the table, highest frequency is for 12 to 16. So this is your model class. T is greater than 12 but less than equal to 16. Then it says work out an estimate for the mean number of days. So for the mean number of days, first we need to find the midpoint of our class intervals. Why do we need to find the midpoint of the class intervals? Because we have these intervals, we don't have exact value for the number of days for each category. So we need to find the midpoint for each of these class intervals, use that as the x value, multiply it with the frequency, and then add it up. Do not make the mistake of adding up all of the frequency values and then dividing it by the number of intervals, which is 5. That's incorrect. You need to find the midpoint value first of the class intervals. So midpoint of 0 and 4 is 2. 4 and 8 has a midpoint of 6. 8 and 12 has a midpoint of 10. 12 and 16 has a midpoint of 14. And 16 and 20 has a midpoint of 18. Now in the next column, I'm going to multiply our frequency value with the x value. X is your midpoint of the class intervals. So 2 times 16, that's going to give us 2 times 16. That's 32. Then it's 18 times 6. That equals 108. Then we have 19 times 10, which is 190. 27 times 14, which gives us 378. And then 18 times 20, which gives us 360. So now it's the f of x values. Now it's the f times x values that you will add up and divide by the total number of cars. So mean is going to be 32 plus 108 plus 190 plus 378 plus 360. And then all of this gets divided by the total number of cars, which is 100. So that's going to give us the value of 10.68. Now, the reason why it's called the estimated mean or an estimation for the mean is because they didn't give us the exact number of days. They gave us a range of values for the number of days. So since we don't have an exact value, then how can the mean be exact as well? So this is exactly why it's called an estimate of the mean. Transformation of shapes. So this question did not come in paper 1, so there's a very high chance it will come in paper 2. So it says describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle A onto triangle B. So for this transformation, we can see that the size of shape A has enlarged to shape B. Whenever the size of the shape changes, it means it's an enlargement. Now we need to figure out the scale factor of the enlargement. So for the scale factor, what you do is you pick two corresponding lengths on the shapes and see how those lengths have changed. So for A, the base is 1, and for B, the base is 3, which means we're multiplying the lengths by the scale factor of 3. You always multiply the new length by the old length. So scale factor is new length divided by old length. Apart from the scale factor, we need the center of enlargement as well. So for the center of enlargement, what you will do is you will connect corresponding points on both the shapes with straight lines, and the point at which all of those lines are intersecting, that's your center of enlargement. I think it's this, yeah. This is the center of enlargement because this is the point through which all of these lines are passing through. About the center 30. So remember, whenever the size of the shape is changing, that means it's an enlargement. If the size of the shape is same and the direction of the shape is also same, then it's a translation. If the size of the shape is same and the direction has changed, it can be rotation or reflection. Then on the grid above, translate triangle A by the vector -4, 3. Label your triangle C. So they've covered translation as well in the same question. So when it says the vector -4, 3, that means we're moving 4 to the left and 3 up. The first value is always your x value and the next value is always your y value. So a negative x value means that you're moving towards the left side. A positive x value means that you're moving towards the right side. A negative y value means that you're moving down. And a positive y value means that you're moving up. So shape A is going to move 4 units to the left and 3 up. So let's do the translation for each point separately. So for this point, we go 4 units to the left. So that's going to be over here and 3 up. So this is your point. Then for this point, 4 to the left and 3 up. So that's going to be over here. And then lastly, this point will obviously come over here. So if we connect the points, this is your triangle C. As you can see, the size of the shape is exactly the same. The direction of the shape is also exactly the same. The only thing that's changed is where the shape is placed now. Then it says that Nav has worked out 68.3 times 42.8 over 0.021 on his calculator. His answer is 139,201.9048. Without using a calculator and using suitable approximations, check that his answer is sensible. Show your working clearly. So for this, what we can do is we can round 68.3 to 70. We can round 42.8 to 40. And 0.021 to 0.02. Now, this is just one of the approximations. You can even round 68.3 to 68, 42.8 to 43, and 0.021 would remain as it is in each case. So if we do this, that's going to be 2800 over 0.02. If we move the decimal 2 places to the right side, that means we move the decimal over here as well. So that's 280000 over 2, which is equal to 140000. So this is what we're getting for the answer. Next is the shaded region R shown in the diagram below is bounded by the straight line with the equation y equals 3x minus 2 and by 2 other straight lines. Write down the 3 inequalities that define the region R. So for the 3 inequalities that define the region R, if we Look at this one. This line is passing through x equals to 3. If you look at the shaded part now, the shaded part is showing the values of x towards the left-hand side. That is where the values of x are decreasing. Whenever we have a solid straight line, that means it's going to be less than equal to or greater than equal to. And the less than equal to, the greater than equal to will be decided based on the shaded part. Since it's going towards the left side, that means it's less than equal to 3. Then for the other line, that's passing through y equals to 1. So over here, if you look at the shaded part, it's showing values of y above the line, which means they're increasing. So that's y is greater than equal to 1. And now for the slant line, for this, we need to figure out the equation. So a straight line has the equation of y equals to mx plus c. C is your y-intercept, which is -2. M is your gradient, which is rise over run. So for that, we can just pick 2 points on the line. Let's say we pick this point and this point. So we can see that the rise is of 3 units and the run is of 1 unit. So rise over run is your M, which is 3 over 1. So gradient is 3. So y equals to 3x minus 2 is our equation. Now for the inequality, if you look at the shaded part, it's underneath the line, which means values of y are decreasing. Hence, y is going to be less than equal to 3x minus 2. These three are your inequalities based on the shaded region given in the question. Construction. So for this, they're asking us to use a ruler and compass only to construct the bisector of angle BAC. You must show all your construction lines. So for the angle bisector, what you will do is, you will first measure the angle A. Let's say angle A is 65. We're assuming that. I'm not saying exactly 65. I'm saying that let's say 65. So if it's 65, what you do is you take your compass, you open your compass to a length that's less than AB and less than AC. So let's say we're opening the compass to 3 centimeters. So opening the compass to 3 centimeters, what you will do is you will put your compass at point A, draw a 3 centimeter arc from point A on the line AB and AC. Now, once you've done that, you will put your compass on line AB where you've drawn the arc, and using the same 3 centimeter length that the compass has been opened to, you will draw an arc over here. Then you bring your compass to line AC where you've drawn the arc and repeat the same steps and draw an arc from there. Once you've done that, you will join your point A to the intersection of the two arcs. And this line will be your angle bisector. To check if your angle bisector is correct, you will take your protractor and you will measure the length of this angle. If it's exactly half of 65, which is 32.5, then your angle bisector is correct. So that's how you draw the angle bisector. Solving quadratic equations. So in this, we're going to factorize this quadratic equation and then use that to find the value of x. So we have x squared minus 21x plus 20 equals to 0. Now, there are two ways of factorizing a quadratic equation. Either you can use the splitting the middle term formula. Either you can use splitting the middle term, or you can use the quadratic formula. Whichever you're comfortable with, just use that. I'm going to be splitting the term. So for that, we have to multiply the quotient of x squared with a constant. Over here, the coefficient of x squared is 1. So 1 times 20 is 20. Now, we need to find factors of 20. Apart from 1 and 20, factors of 20 are 4 and 5, and 2 and 10. Once you've listed down all the factors, then you have to pick that set of factors which, when added or subtracted, give us the middle term, which is 21. As you can see, 1 plus 20 is equal to 21. 4 plus 5 would be 9, and 5 minus 4 would be 1. So we can't use this. 2 plus 10 would be 12, and 10 minus 2 would be 8, so we can't even use that. So the only set of factors that we can use is 1 and 20. So now what we do is we replace 21x with negative 20x minus x, and everything else comes as it is. Once again, we're just splitting the middle term into other terms, which even if you recombine, the quotient would go back to x squared minus 21x plus 20. So it's basically the same thing, but just split apart. Now, next step is to use factor by grouping to factorize our quadratic equation. We split the equation into two groups. The first two terms make one group, and the last two terms make another group. So if you look at the first group, we can see that we have x common. So we take that common outside. And in the last group, we have negative 1 common. So now if we compare x and negative 1, both have x minus 20 common. So x minus 20 times x minus 1 equals to 0. X minus 20 equals to 0. X minus 1 equals to 0. So one value of x is 20 and the other value of x is 1. This is your final answer. Angles and polygons. So the diagram shows a regular octagon A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H and a regular pentagon A, B, I, J, K. We have to work out the value of x. I don't know if you realize this, but my predicted paper 1 version also had the most difficult questions. Like I went for all of the weird looking questions so that even if you get an easy question, you know what to do. So even for this version, I've selected the most weird looking questions, which can easily confuse you. But through this paper walkthrough, you will realize how easy they are. It's just that they make it look weird to confuse you. So the diagram shows a regular octagon. So in octagon, the number of sides are 8. And in a pentagon, the number of sides are 5. So using the number of sides, what we can do is we can find the interior angles for both the octagon and pentagon. So if we start with the octagon, it's 8 minus 2 times 180 over 8. This is going to give us a value of 135. This is for your octagon. Now for the pentagon, your interior angle is going to be 5 minus 2 times 180 over 5. That's 108. So all of these angles are 135 and these ones are 108. So now if you look closely in this corner, this entire angle is 135. A part of that angle is 108. Same goes over here. So what we can do is to find angle IBC, we can do 135 minus 108. That's equal to 27 degrees. So this part over here, this is 27. Now, a very important thing that you must have noticed is that the length of AB for the pentagon is the same as the length of AB for the octagon. So if we have an overlapping length, that means the lengths of the pentagon are the same as the length of the octagon. Keeping that in mind, if I highlight this triangle over here, we can see that it's an isosceles because we have two equal lengths. IB is equal to CB. Which means this is also equal to X. So to find X, we can do 180 minus 27 divided by 2, and that gives us a value of 76.5 degrees. That is how you find the value of angle X. So remember to read the question very carefully, identify if there's any equal length, if the shapes are overlapping or not, what are the number of sides, what are the individual interior angles, exterior angles, depending on what the question asks us to. Write every single information you can find on the diagram and then see how you can find the missing angle based on that. Graphs of function. So for this, they've given us different types of graphs and they want us to identify which equation matches with the graph. So complete the table below with the letter of the graph that could represent each given equation. Write each answer on the dotted line. So y equals to negative 2x plus 3 is a linear equation. So for the linear equation, we can see that we have graph G and then we have graph C. According to this equation, your y-intercept is plus 3, which is the constant value. So now if we look closely, for graph G, the y-intercept is a negative number, whereas for graph C, the y-intercept is a positive number, which means the answer to the linear equation is going to be C. Then it says, let me just write that over here as well. Linear equation. Then it says y equals to negative 1 over x. So whenever we have a fraction for an equation and the variable is in the denominator, that means it's a rational function. So for the rational function, if it's negative, we will pick this one. Why? Now you can notice that graph B and F have the same shape, but they're in different quadrants. It's based on those difference in quadrants you decide whether it's a positive function or a negative function. In graph B, we can see that in the first quadrant, both x and y are positive, whereas in the third quadrant, both x and y are negative. So when they're both negative, when you multiply them, it becomes positive. Whereas in graph F, if y is positive, x is negative, and when x is positive, y is negative. So your overall function will always be negative. Hence, this is exactly why graph of F is for y equals to negative 1 over x, whereas graph of B would be y equals to positive 1 over x. So these are your rational functions. Rational function. The next is y equals to tan x. That's a trigonometric function. So for tan x, that's graph D. Graph A is your sine x function. This is tan x. Remember, for tan, it's going to be like this, where you have asymptotes. Asymptotes are lines where your graph does not pass through. Whereas for sine function, you will always start from 0, reach to a maximum value of 1, then go back to 0, then reach a minimum value of negative 1, and then repeat the cycle. That's how you recognize a sine function. And for cosine, it's like this. You have maximum value of 1, you go to 0, then you go have a minimum value of negative 1, and then again you go to 0 and 1. So your sine function will always begin from x equals to 0, whereas the cosine function will always begin from y equals to 1. That's how you differentiate between the three trigonometric graphs. So that's D. Metric graph. Then y equals to x plus 1 times x minus 1 times x minus 2. So when you have three x-intercepts, that means it's a cubic function. So for the cubic function, they only gave one graph, which is graph H. So that's your answer. If you're wondering about the other ones, E is quadratic and I is y equals to 1 over x squared. For y equals to negative 1 over x squared, your graph will be in these quadrants. These are also rational. So these are all of the graphs of function that you can get. I don't think they can give any other shape. These are all of the relevant ones. Then it says the diagram shows a rectangular sheet of metal ABCD. BD is 50 centimeters and angle BDC is 32. Now so join side AD to side BC to form a cylinder. BC is the height of the cylinder. DC is the circumference of the cross section of the cylinder. Work out the volume in centimeter cube of the cylinder, giving your answer correct to three significant figures. So to work out the volume of the cylinder, what we need is the radius and the height. Based on the information given, we have the length of the diagonal BD and we have the angle. So we can easily use that to find the length of BC, which is going to be the height of the cylinder. And we can find the length of DC, which can help us figure out the circumference. And then using the circumference, we can figure out the radius. So let's begin with finding BC. So if the angle is at D and BC is what we're trying to find, let's call that H actually. Using SOHCAHTOA, we can see that we have the hypotenuse and the angle, and we have to find the opposite. So sine of 32 equals to H over 50. So 50 times sine of 32 is going to give us the value of H, which is equal to 26.49 centimeters. Now to find the value of DC, we can see that DC is the adjacent, so we'll use cosine. Cos of 32 equals to DC over 50. So 50 times cos of 32 equals to DC, which is 42.40 centimeters. So now the question says that DC is the circumference. So that means 42.40 would you put equal to the circumference of the circle formula, and through that we find the radius. So 42.40 equals to 2 pi r. 2 pi r is the formula for the circumference of a circle. 42.40 divided by 2 pi equals to r, which is 6.748 centimeters. Now that we have the radius and we have the height as well, we can easily find the volume of the cylinder. Formula is pi r square h, which is given in the formula sheet. So pi times 6.748 squared times 26.49, and that is going to give us a value of 3,789.5 centimeter cube. If we answer correct to three significant figures, so that's going to be 3,790 centimeter cube. That is the volume of the cylinder. Sets and Venn diagram. So for this, I chose the 3-set Venn diagram. And this one was a bit weird. So I was like, okay, let's go for the most complicated one. and hopefully you'll get an easy one in your exam. So it says A, B, and C are three sets where number of A intersection B intersection C equals to 5. So when all three are intersecting, that means we're talking about the part that's right in the middle where all three sets are overlapping. So that's basically this. The number of A intersection B intersection C complement. So this is that part where C isn't included, but A and B are intersecting. So that's this part because we're excluding C out of this. So it's just A intersection B excluding C. The number of A intersection C is 5. A intersection C is all of this. So if they're saying it's 5, that means there is nothing over here. This is 0. So don't get confused if you get a 0, like it can happen. Sometimes they're trying to trick you. Just don't fall for the tricks. Then it says number of elements in A is 17, which means all of the elements in set A are going to give us a total of 70. So for this, what we'll do is we'll subtract 2 and 5 from 17, which is 10. So just A is going to be 10. Then number of A union B union C complement. So that means everything that's outside of A, B, and C. So that's over here. This is 3. The number of A complement intersection B intersection C complement is 6. So basically, it's just what's in B. So that excludes A and C. So this is 6. The number of B intersection C. B intersection C is this part. So if all of it is 7, that means this will be 2 because the 5 is already over here. And then lastly, number of elements in C is 14. So all of this is 14. So if we subtract 7 from 14, that leaves us with 7. So this is your complete Venn diagram. Then it says that Akari played a computer game 11 times. Here are her scores. Find the interquartile range of her scores. For the interquartile range, first we need to see if the data values are given ascending order or not. As you can see, they're not. So what we need to do first is rearrange it in ascending order and then use it to find the interquartile range. So smallest value over here is 20, and we have 1, 2 20s. Now after 20, what we have is 22, and that's just 1. Then we have 23, that's also 1s. 24, we have a 25. Then we have 226 and 27 and 229. Oh, there's a 28 as well. 8 and then 29. I think that's all of them. Yeah. Okay. So for the interquartile range, what we need is the lower quartile and the upper quartile. So first, let's identify the middle value. So there are 11 values, which means the middle value is going to be the 6th value. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is your median value. Now, lower quartile is going to be the value that's in the middle of first value and the value before the median value. So that's 22. That's the lower quartile. Upper quartile is going to be the value that's between 26 and 29, which is 28. So for the interquartile range, we will subtract the upper quartile and the lower quartile. So 28 minus 22, which is equal to 6. That's how you find an interquartile range with given values. Remember, for the lower quartile, it's between the first value and the value before the median. And for the lower quartile, it's between the last value and the value after the median. Then it says Machi played the same computer game 11 times. The interquartile range for Machi's score was 9. Who had the more consistent scores, Akari or Machi? It's going to be Akari because his interquartile range is lower. Lower the interquartile range, more the consistency. Then it says the functions f and g are defined as f of x equals to x squared plus 6, g of x equals to x minus 10. Find f of g of 3. So first, what we can do is we can find g of 3. We replace x with 3. So it's going to be 3 minus 10, which is negative 7. So since g of 3 is negative 7, that means f of g of 3 can be rewritten as f of negative 7. Instead of putting g of 3 in the function f of x, we're just directly putting negative 7. So negative 7 squared plus 6, which is 49 plus 6, and that's going to be 55. That is your answer. Then it says solve the function f of gx equals to f of x. So let's find the composite function f of gx. F of gx means that you're replacing the x of f of x with the function g of x. So that's going to look like x minus 10 whole square plus 6. Once again, if you compare x square plus 6 with x minus 10 whole square plus 6, we just replace x with the function g of x. Now they're saying we have to put this equal to f of x and then solve it. So f of x is x squared plus 6 and put this equal to x minus 10 whole square plus 6. Expand the bracket. So x squared plus 6 equals to x squared minus 20x plus 100 plus 6. Bring everything on one side. So x squared minus x squared minus 20x plus 106 minus 6. That's going to be 0 equals to negative 20x plus 100. 20x equals to 100. X is going to be 100 divided by 20, which gives us x equals to 5. That is the value of x. Then we have a rational function which says that h of x is defined as 2x minus 4 over x. State the value of x that cannot be included in the domain of h. So remember, whenever you have a fraction for a function and the variable is in the denominator, and they're asking you what is the value of x at which the function cannot exist or, cannot be determined, terms like these, what you will do is you will put your denominator equal to 0, which over here is x. So x equals to 0 is where your function cannot exist. The reason why your function cannot exist at x equals to 0 is because if you remember, if we divide anything by 0, the answer is undefined. So your denominator can never be 0. So keeping that logic in mind, we put the denominator equal to 0 for the function and then find the value of x. And that exact value of x, your function cannot exist or it cannot be determined. So that's the logic behind that. Then it says express the inverse function h inverse in the form of h inverse x. So for the inverse function, what we do is we first replace h of x with y. So that means y equals to 2x minus 4 over x. Cross multiply to get rid of the fraction. So xy equals to 2x minus 4. since we're trying to make x the subject now, so collect all of the terms with x on one side. So xy minus 2x equals to negative 4. Take x common, x bracket y minus 2 equals to negative 4. X equals to negative 4 over y minus 2. Last step is to replace x with h inverse x and y with x. So negative 4 over x minus 2 is your inverse of the function. Then we have a probability tree diagram. So Cody has two bags of counters, bag A and bag B. Each of the counters has either an odd number or an even number written on it. There are 10 counters in bag A, and 7 of these counters have an odd number written on them. Then there are 12 counters in bag B, and 7 of these counters have an odd number written on them. Cody is going to take at random a counter from bag A and a counter from bag B. We have to complete the probability tree diagram. So if 7 have an odd number in bag A, and same goes for bag B, but the total number of counters are different. In A, there are 10 counters, and in B, there are 12 counters. So that means if 7 out of 10 are odd, 3 out of 10 are going to be even for bag A. For bag B, 7 out of 12 are going to be odd, and 5 out of 12 are going to be even. Again, 7 out of 12 or 5 out of 12. A very common mistake you can make in this is that not read the question carefully and assume that the number of counters in bag B is also going to be 10. And hence you would end up writing 7 over 10 and 3 over 10. So please don't make that mistake. Read the question very carefully. Highlight the information if you want to. Just highlight what it's saying and avoid making these silly mistakes because they can cost you your grade very easily. So we've completed the probability tree diagram. Then says calculate the probability that the total of the numbers on the two counters will be an odd number. So for the total being odd, we can go from an even to an odd number or an odd to an even number. Why? Because it says that we have to find the probability that the total of the two numbers picked from bag A and bag B is an odd number. If we do, let's say 3 plus 3, they're two odd numbers, that's going to give us a 6. But if we do 3 plus 2, that's going to give us a 5, which is odd. So you can only get an odd number if you're adding an odd and even number, not if you're adding an odd and odd number. So you have to be very careful about these things. So for the probability, we'll do 7 over 10, which is the probability of getting an odd number from A, times 5 over 12, which is the probability of getting it even in B, or 3 over 10, the probability of getting it even in A, times 7 over 12, which is the probability of getting an odd in B. So that's 35 over 120 plus 21 over 120, which is going to be 56 over 120. If you want to simplify it, you can simplify it. If you want to leave it as it is, you can also do that. Either way, it's going to be correct. Then it says Harriet also has a bag of counters. Each of her counters also has either an odd or an even number written on it. Harriet is going to take at random a counter from her bag of counters. The probability that the number on each of Cody's two counters and the number on Harriet's counter will all be even is 3 over 100. Find the least number of counters that Harriet has in her bag. Questions have clearly said that the probability that the number on each of Cody's two counters and the number on Harriet's counter will all be even is 3 over 100. So the probability of getting an even number from bag A was 3 over 10, and the probability of getting an even number from bag B was 5 over 12 times x, which is the probability of getting an even number from Harriet. These three multiplied give us 3 over 100. So using this, we can figure out the probability of getting an even number from Harriet. So that's 5 ones are 5, this is 2, this is 1, this is 4. So 1 over 8 times x equals to 3 over 100. X is going to be 3 times 8 over 100, which is 24 over 100. We have to find the least number of counters that Harriet has in her bag. So since it says least number, that means we have to simplify the fraction, which is equal to 6 over 25. If you compare 100 and 25, obviously 25 is less than 100, which means least number of counters is 25. If we're saying the maximum number of counters, then we could say 100. So once again, they're talking about the probability of all three counters being even. So you just multiply the probability of getting an even counter from bag A and bag B. We don't have the probability for Harriet, so we just use x for that. Multiply the 3 per equal to 3 over 100. Using this equation, we find the probability of getting an even number from Harriet. And since they want the least number of counters, so we can simplify the fraction, and whatever we get in the denominator, that is the least number of counters Harriet has in her bag. If it was asking for the maximum number of counters, you would just keep the fraction in its unsimplified form and say that 100 is the maximum number of counters she can have. Then it says simplify fully 10x squared plus 23x plus 12 divided by 4x squared minus 9. As you can see, we have a quadratic equation in the numerator and denominator, but both will be solved in a very different way. For the numerator, I'm going to use the splitting the middle term method. You can also use the quadratic formula. Either way, you're going to get the correct answer. For splitting the middle term, we multiply the quotient of x squared with the constant. 10 times 12, that's 120. Then you find factors of 120 apart from 10 and 12. So that's 20 times 6, 60 times 2, 120 times 1, 30 times 4, 40 times 3, and 8 times 15. Once you've listed out all the factors, we pick that sort of factors which when added or subtracted give us the middle term. And in our case, that's 8 and 15 because 8 plus 15 is 23. So what you'll do next is you'll just replace 23x with 15x plus 8x, and then plus 12 comes as it is. Now for the denominator, we can see that we have two perfect squares being subtracted, which means we'll use difference of perfect squares to factorize the denominator. Difference of perfect squares states that a square minus b square equals to a plus b times a minus b. So which means it's going to be 2x plus 3 times 2x minus 3. 4x squared is 2x, 9 is 3. Now for the numerator, as you know, we factor by grouping. So the first two terms make one group, the last two terms make another group. Between the first two terms, we have 5x common. So 2x plus 3 goes in the bracket. And between the last two terms, we have plus 4 common. So 2x plus 3 goes in the bracket. Denominator stays the same right now because we cannot further factorize it. Now in the numerator, we can say that between 5x and 4, we have 2x plus 3 common. So 2x plus 3 bracket 5x plus 4 divided by 2x plus 3 times 2x minus 3. As you can see, we have a 2x plus 3 in the numerator and denominator. So both get cancelled out. And that leaves us with 5x plus 4 over 2x minus 3. That is your fully simplified answer for this algebraic fraction. Then we have an indices question where it says that 2 to the power of 2y times 2 to the power of 3y plus 2 equals to 8 to the power of 5y over 4 to the power of n. So in such questions, remember that if you're able to convert every term into the same base, and the base would be a prime number, then do that. We know that 8 is equal to 2 cube and 4 is 2 square, which means we can replace 8 with 2 cube and 4 with 2 square. And that's going to give us 2 cube whole power 5y and 2 square whole power n. Like I said before, try to change everything in the same base. So now all of the terms have a base of 2, which would make it easier for us to now simplify it. So whenever we have similar bases being multiplied, you add the powers, which is one of the rules of indices. So 2y plus 3y plus 2, we combine it as a single base. And then over here, when there's a power inside the bracket and outside the bracket, you multiply the powers. So 3 times 5y is 15y, and 2 times n is 2n. Now, when you have similar bases being divided, we subtract the powers. Over here, we combine the like terms. So 5y plus 2, 2 to the power of 15y minus 2n. When we have same bases on both sides existing alone, that means you can put the powers equal to each other. 5y plus 2 equals to 15y minus 2n. They want an expression for n in terms of y, which means we need to make n the subject, which means it's going to be 5y plus 2 minus 15y equals to negative 2n, which is 2 minus 10y equals to negative 2n. Divide both sides by negative 2, and that's going to give us negative 1 plus 5y equals to n. This is your expression of n in terms of y. Then it says the diagram shows two solids A and B made from two different metals. Solid A is in the shape of a cylinder with radius 3 centimeters, height 7 centimeters, and it has a mass of 2000 grams. Solid B has a mass of 3375 grams and a volume of 450 centimeter cube. All of the metal from solid A and solid B is melted down to make the uniform solid C. Given that there is no change to mass or volume during this process, work out the density of solid C. So let's first find the volume of solid A. Volume of cylinder is pi r square h. So that's pi times 3 square times 7. That gives us 197.9 centimeter cube. Now density has the formula of mass over volume. What we can do is we can find the density of solid A. For solid A, the density is going to be 2000 divided by 197.9, which gives us 10.11 grams per centimeter cube. Now, if you go to solid B has a mass of 3075 and a volume of 450. So using that, we're going to find the density of solid B. So this was for solid A. Three thousand 375 over 450. That gives us 7.5 grams per centimeter cube. Now for solid C, since we're melting solid A and solid B to make solid C, and the question clearly states that there's no change in mass or volume, that means we add the masses and the volumes and use that to find the density for solid C. So mass was 2000 plus 3375, and volume is going to be 197.9 plus 450. That is going to give us 8.29. The one answer correct to one decimal place, that's going to be 8.3 grams per centimeter cube. That's your answer. Then it says Behnaz makes candles. She has 6.3 kilograms of wax and uses it all to make candles. Each candle Behnaz makes uses 210 grams of wax, and Behnaz sells 2/5 of the candles for $13 each. She then reduces this price by 20% and sells the rest of the candles. Work out the total amount of money Behnaz gets by selling all the candles she made. So she has 6.3 kilograms of wax and she's used all. So to find the number of candles she's made, first let's convert the kilograms into grams. 1 kg is 1000 grams. So 6.3 kgs is going to be 6.3 times 1000, which is 6300 grams. So for the number of candles, what you do is you divide the total amount of wax used by the amount of wax used to make one candle. So 6300 divided by 210 is going to give us a value of 30. So she's making a total of 30 candles. Now she sells 2/5 of the candles for $13 each. So 2/5 of 30 is 12. So 12 candles are sold for $13 each. She then reduces this price by 20% and sells the rest of the candles. So now we need to find 80% of 13. So new price would be 80% of 13. The reason why it's 80% because she's reducing the price by 20%. So that means the new price would be 80% of 30. So 80 times 13 divided by 100, that's $10.4. That's the new price. So if out of the 30 candles, 12 are sold at $13 each, remaining candles are 30 minus 12, which is 80. So she will earn 18 times 10.4. That's $187.2 from the remaining candles. And from the 12 candles, 12 times 13, that's 156. So total is going to be 156 plus 187.2. That's going to give us $343.2. That's what she's earning. Then for completing square method, it says express 7 minus 4x minus x squared in the form p minus x plus q whole square, where p and q are constants. So this is guaranteed going to come in your test, but because it did not come in paper one. So for completing square method, so first let's rearrange this starting with the highest power of x. So your function is negative x squared minus 4x plus 7. Whenever we're converting a quadratic equation to completing square form, first thing you need to check is whether the coefficient of x squared is less than 1, greater than 1, or equal to 1. You can clearly see that in this case, it's less than 1 because it's negative 1. So what we need to do is make the coefficient equal to 1. And that can only be done if we take negative 1 common from the entire equation. So when we do that, that leaves us with x squared plus 4x minus 7 in the bracket. Now we do completing square form on this bracket, primarily x squared plus 4x, because that's what we want to complete. So to complete x squared plus 4x, you need to remember that a complete square looks like a plus b whole square or a minus b whole square. In our case, we're going to stick to a plus b whole square because it's x squared plus 4x. A plus b whole square expands to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Now, if we compare x squared plus 4x with a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, we can see that we have our a squared, we have our 2ab, but we don't have our b squared. We need this b squared to complete the square. To figure out what that b squared would be, we will put 4x equals to 2ab. Why? Because when we substitute the value of a, which is x, we only have one unknown, which is b. So 4x divided by 2x is 2, so b is 2, which means to complete the square, inside the bracket, I will add plus 2 squared, but also minus 2 squared. Now, the reason why we're adding the minus 2 squared is because when we introduce something new in the equation, like if we're adding something, we're supposed to subtract it as well. If you remember solving fractions with unlike denominators, when you multiply something with the denominator, you do the same with the numerator as well. So applying the same logic over here, if we add something new, we subtract it as well. So to maintain that balance, I will do minus 2 squared as well. Now when we complete the square, that complete square is going to focus on these three. The minus 2 square will be outside. So it's going to be x plus 2 whole square. This is our complete square now. Minus 2 square is minus 4 and minus 7 will be outside now. So minus 1 bracket x plus 2 whole square minus 11. Now we multiply this negative sign. So it's going to be negative x plus 2 squared plus 11. This is your answer in complete square form, where P is 11 and Q is 2. Then it says, use your answer to part A to solve the equation 7 minus 4 bracket y plus 3 minus y plus 3 whole square equal to 0, giving your solution in the form A plus minus root f, where E and f are integers. So what we had was 7 minus 4x minus x squared. And we converted that into 11 minus x plus 2 whole square. They're saying use your answer to part A. So obviously we need to use the completed square form over here. So if we have 7 minus 4 times y plus 3 minus y plus 3 whole square, if we compare that with the original equation, we can see that the x has been replaced by y plus 3. So we do the same in the completing square form, where we replace the x with y plus 3 as well. Now they're saying this equation is put equal to 0, which means 11 minus y plus 5, I added the 3 and 2, whole square equals to 0. 11 equals to y plus 5 whole square. The reason why I made the bracket positive is because I have this rule whenever we're trying to find the value of a variable, or we're rearranging the formula to change the subject. I want to make the variable that we want to be the subject positive. That just makes my calculation much simpler. So now to get rid of the square, we square root both sides. So that's plus minus root of 11 equals to y plus 5, and y equals to negative 5 plus minus root of 11. That's exactly what they wanted us to show, where E is negative 5 and F is 11. Then it says the curve C has the equation y equals to 3 minus 5 bracket x plus 1 whole square. The point A is the maximum point on C, right on the coordinates of M. So completing square form method is used for two purposes. Actually, three. It's used to identify what the maximum point of a curve would be. It's used to identify what the line of symmetry of the curve would be, or the minimum point. It's used to calculate your inverse of the quadratic function. So when this asking you to find the maximum or the minimum point of the curve, remember, this is your x value, and this is your y value of the maximum point or the minimum point of the curve. Normally, completing square form comes in the format of y equals to x minus h whole square plus k. It's always negative in the bracket. So when in your equation that's given the question, it's a positive in the bracket, that means x would equal to -1 and y would equal to 3. So -1, 3 are your maximum point on C. Just remember that inside the bracket, the format is negative. It's always x minus. So if in your question, if they add x plus, then you add a negative sign with the x value. For the y value, the logic is the same. If it's positive, it remains positive. If it's negative, it's negative. But for x, it's different. So if it was originally x minus 1, let's say, then x would equal to +1. So that's your answer. Then it says Allison buys 2 boxes of strawberries, box A and box B. Box A contains 15 strawberries. The strawberries in box A have a mean weight of 24 grams. Box B contains 25 strawberries, and strawberries in box B have a mean weight of 18 grams. Allison puts all 40 strawberries into a bowl. Work out the mean weight of the 40 strawberries. So let's first find the sum of the weight of all the strawberries in box A and box B. Mean is your sum divided by the total number. So if we have the mean value, that's 24 for box A. Sum is what we need to find, and total strawberries are 15. So 24 times 15 equals to the sum, which is going to give us 360 for box A. And then for box B, it's going to be 25 times 18, which is equal to 450. They want us to find the mean weight of the 40 strawberries, so all of them together. So for the sum, we add 440 and 360 because that's the total weight for the 40 strawberries, and then divide by the total number of strawberries, which is 40. So 360 plus 450, which is 810, divided by 40 equals to 20.25 grams. That's your mean weight of all of the 40 strawberries. This question comes very frequently. Same steps, same format. You just times the mean value with the total number of objects to find the sum of like whatever event is happening. And then if they're asking you to find the mean value for it, you add the sum up and divide by the total number of objects. Or if they've given you the mean or they're asking you to find the number of objects, you do sum divided by the mean to find the number of objects, depending on what is given and unknown. And it says a football team played 55 games. Each game was won, drawn, or lost. Number of games won is to number of games drawn is to number of games lost is 6 is to 3 is to 2. Work out how many more games the team won than the team lost. So for 1, it's going to be 6 over 11 times 55. And for lost, it's going to be 2 over 11 times 55. So that's going to be 30 over here, 10 over here. So the final answer would be 30 minus 10. which is 20. So how many more games the team won than lost? 20. And it says here the first 5 terms of a number sequence as 10, 16, 22, 28, 34. Find an expression in terms of n for the nth term of the sequence. So what we'll do is we first find the common difference. Between the first and the second term is a difference of 6. Then again 6. And each term has a difference of 6. So we're adding 6. So the formula for your nth term is un equals to a plus n minus 1 times d, which is given the formula sheet. A is your first term. D is your common difference. And n will remain an unknown because the 1 is the nth term. So we do 10 plus n minus 1 times 6. 10 plus 6n minus 6, which equals to 4 plus 6n. Then it says the nth term of a sequence t is given by n squared minus 3. There are numbers that are terms in both the sequences S and the sequence T. Find one of these numbers. So they have the same number, so that means your nth term can be equal for both the sequences. So 6n plus 4 equals to n squared minus 3. Bring everything on one side, so 0 equals to n squared minus 6n minus 3 minus 4, which is n squared minus 6n minus 7. Once again, we have a quadratic equation and they want us to solve it to find the value of n. So we do n squared minus 7n plus n minus 7, n bracket n minus 7 plus 1, bracket n minus 7, n minus 7, bracket n plus 1 equals to 0. So one value of x is 7 and the other is -1. Obviously, the number of terms cannot be negative, so 7 is your value of n over here. Now, we substitute n equals 7 into either of the equations. So put it in n squared minus 3. The seventh term would be 7 squared minus 3, which is 49 minus 3, and that is 46. You can also put it in the other one, which was 6n plus 4. So T7 would be 6 times 7 plus 4, which again gives us 46. Then it says, given that n is greater than 0, make n the subject of the formula, where y equals to n squared plus d over n squared. So y equals to n squared plus d over n squared. Cross multiply to get rid of the fraction. Y n squared equals to n squared plus d. Bring all the terms with n squared on one side. So y n squared minus n squared equals to d. Take n squared common. N squared times y minus 1 equals to d. N squared equals to d over y minus 1. N equals to square root plus minus d over y minus 1. This saying n is greater than 0, which means n would be positive square root of d over y minus 1. We don't use the negative value. Then it says ABCD is a trapezium with AB parallel to DC. A is the point with coordinates -4, 6. B is the point with coordinates 2, 3. And D is the point with coordinates -1 and 8. The trapezium has one line of symmetry. The line of symmetry intersects CD at the point E. Work out the coordinates of point E. So as the question states that the trapezium has one line of symmetry, so if we draw a rough sketch of the trapezium, this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D. This is our line of symmetry. So if this is line of symmetry, that means it's passing through the midpoint of A, B, and DC. So let's call this M, and the midpoint of CD is given as E. So the line of symmetry is obviously going to be perpendicular to the line AB and DC, and AB and DC are given as parallel lines, which means we'll be using the concept of parallel lines and perpendicular lines in this question. So if two lines are parallel, that means they have the same gradient. So let's find the gradient of AB first. So that's going to be 6 minus 3 over negative 4 minus 2. 6 minus 3 is 3. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. That equals to negative 1 over 2. So gradient of AB is going to be the same as gradient of CD, which is negative 1 over 2. Then if we look at the line of symmetry, that's perpendicular. So that means gradient of ME times gradient of AB is equal to negative 1. That is the condition for perpendicular lines. The product of the gradients always equals to negative 1. So that means over here it's gradient of line ME times negative 1 over 2 equals to negative 1, which means gradient of the line ME is going to equal to positive 2. Let's highlight these, this and this. Okay. So now that the gradient sorted, if we look at the diagram again, we said that the line of symmetry is passing through the midpoint of AB and DC. Since we have the coordinates of A and B, we can find the midpoint of AB. So midpoint of AB, that's going to be negative 4 plus 2 over 2, and then 6 plus 3 over 2. So negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1, 6 plus 3 is 9, 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. So these are your midpoint of AB, which is also coordinates of M. Using these coordinates and the gradient of the line ME, we can create an equation for the line ME. And then using the coordinates of D and the gradient of CD, we can create another equation. And if we solve those two simultaneously, we can find the coordinates of E because they're both intersecting at point E. Let's create the equation for ME first. Equation of ME, that's going to be y minus y1, which is 4.5 equals to your gradient 2 times x minus x1, which is negative 1. So y minus 4.5 equals to 2x plus 2. Y equals to 2x plus 2 plus 4.5, which is 2x plus 6.5. That is the equation of the line ME. Now we need to find the equation of the line DC. Point D has the coordinates of negative 1 and 8. Gradient of the line CD was negative 1 over 2. So for the equation of CD, we do y minus 8 equals to negative 1 over 2 times x minus negative 1. So that's 2y minus 16 equals to negative x minus 1. 2y equals to negative x minus 1 plus 16. So 2y equals to negative x plus 15. And y is negative x over 2 plus 15 over 2. That is the other equation. Now we put these two equations equal to each other because they share the same y value and x value, which is point E. So negative x over 2 plus 15 over 2 equals to 2x plus 6.5. So if you write the fractions in decimals, that's going to be negative 0.5x plus 7.5 equals to 2x plus 6.5. So 7.5 minus 6.5 equals to 2x plus 0.5x, which is 1 equals to 2.5x. 1 divided by 2.5 equals to x, and that gives us 0.4. So 0.4 is x, and for y, you can just put the value back into either of the equations. Negative 0.4 over 2 plus 15 over 2, which is negative 0.2 plus 7.5, and that equals y equals to 7.3. So coordinates of E are x equals 0.4 and y equals to 7.3. That's your answer. Then it says that ABC and D are points on a circle center O. AOC is the diameter of the circle. Angle AOD is 98 degrees. Work out the size of angle DBC. Give a reason for each stage in your working. DBC, we have to find this angle. So firstly, angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So angle ABD is going to be 98 divided by 2, which is equal to 49 degrees. So reason is angle at the circumference is half the angle at the center. Okay, so this is 49. Now, since AOC is the diameter, which means angle ABC is going to be 90 degrees, because angles in a semicircle equal to 90 degrees. Angles in a semicircle equal 90 degrees, which means DBC is going to be 90 minus 49, which gives us 41 degrees. So that's your answer. Two things happening over here. Angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference, and angles in a semicircle coming out of a diameter will always equal to 90. So 90 minus 49 gives us 41. Then it says here's a graph of y equals to sine x for x is between 0 to 360. On the grid above, sketch the graph of y equals sine of x plus 90. So since we're directly adding 90 to x, that means it's a horizontal translation. You need to remember that when you're adding something to x, that means you're moving that means to the left-hand side. And if you're subtracting something from x, you're moving that means to the right-hand side. So since we're adding 90, that means we shift all the angles 90 degrees to the left side. So this point comes over here. This will come over here. 180 comes at 90. 270 comes at 180. And 360 is at 270. So this, as you can see, y value is not increasing or decreasing. It's negative y and positive y for the maximum minimum value. But the graph has moved 90 degrees to the left side now. So what you need to remember is that if something is being added to x, you move that means to the left-hand side. If something is being subtracted, so if it's x minus 3, move 3 units to the right. If it's x plus 3, move 3 units to the left. And for y, it's the same. If it's y plus 3, you move 3 units up. And y minus 3 is move 3 units down. Going back to the question, it says that x is between 0 to 360, which means we cannot include the negative value. But over here, we can include this value. So let's get rid of this over here. And this is your graph. Starting from x equals to 0 and ending at x equals to 360. This is your final answer. Then it says in x greater than equal to 0 but less than equal to 360, the graph of y sine of x over 2 degrees plus 3 has a maximum at the point A, right on the coordinates of A. Now, originally in the sine function, it's y equals to sine of x, where your maximum point has the coordinates of 90 degrees and 1. So if we do the step-by-step transformation of the curve, first we do y equals to sine of x over 2 degrees. So when something is dividing x, that means to the coordinate you would multiply it. So we do 90 times 2 to the x value, and 1 remains as it is right now. So that gives us 180 and 1. Then we're adding 3 to the function. So if we're adding something to the function, like we said before, that means you're moving it that many units up, which means it's going to be 180 and 1 plus 3, which gives us 180 and 4. So if something is dividing the angle, that means you multiply that to the x coordinate. If something is multiplying the angle, then you divide the x coordinate by that value. And if something is being added to y, you move that many units up. And if something is being subtracted from y, you move that many units down. So 180 and 4 is your maximum point on this curve. Then says line L is drawn on the grid. Find an equation of L. So for this, we need the y-intercept and the slope, because the equation is going to be in the form of slope-intercept form. So y-intercept is the point at which the graph is crossing the y-axis, which is -1. And for the slope, we need the rise over run. So for the rise over run, we can pick 2 points on the graph, preferably whole numbers, so we can pick this one and this one. So if you look at this, the horizontal distance is your run and the vertical distance is your rise. So from -2, we're going to -1. That means we're decreasing. And from +1, we're going to +3. That means we're increasing. So that's positive over here. So that means the gradient is -2. Y equals to -2x minus 1. Remember, for the sign of the gradient, we need to see the direction of the values that we're going for. Then upper bound and lower bound. It says that x equals to 6a over b minus a, where a is equal to 3.46 correct to 3 significant figures, and b equals to 6.3 correct to 1 decimal place. Work out the upper bound for the value of x, giving the answer as a decimal correct to 3 significant figures. Show you're working clearly. So I specifically chose this question because it addresses multiplication, division, and subtraction in upper bounds and lower bounds. And for the degree of accuracy, it deals with both significant figures and decimal places. So it targets like pretty much like the entire upper bound and lower bound topic. So for this, you need to know that when we're finding the upper bound or the lower bound in division, if it says upper bound, that means your numerator will be upper bound and denominator will be lower bound. If it's the lower bound of a fraction, then upper bound is your denominator and lower bound is the numerator. Now, in the denominator, we have b minus a. So in difference, for the lower bound, we will need the lower bound of b and the upper bound of a. This way, we'll get the least value. If we were doing upper bound minus lower bound, that would give us the maximum value. So let's begin with a first. A has to be upper bound. So when we have the degree of accuracy in significant figures, in this case, they said that a is 3.46 correct to 3 significant figures. So first you check what the third significant figure is. Third significant figure over here is 6. So once you've identified the third significant figure, you identify the place value of the significant figure. Place value is 0.01. So whatever the place value is, you divide that by 2. which gives us 0.005. Now for the upper bound of A, we will add 0.005 to 3.46, which gives us 3.465 as the upper bound of A. Now moving on to the denominator. For the lower bound of B, the degree of accuracy is given us one decimal place. So that's 0.1. Divide that by 2. That gives us 0.05. So lower bound would be 6.3 minus 0.05, which is 6.25. Upper bound of A is already calculated, so we just substitute the values in the equation now. So 6 times 3.465 divided by 6.25 minus 3.465. That gives us a value of 7.46. This is your upper bound of x correct to 3 significant figures. Then surds. It says that a equals to root a plus 4 and b equals to root 8 minus 4. A minus b times a plus b can be written in the form of y root 4y. Find the value of y. So let's replace a and b with its values. So it's root 8 plus 4 minus root 8 minus 4 bracket root 8 plus 4 plus root 8 minus 4. If you remember difference of perfect square, a square minus b square equals to a minus b times a plus b. So we can rewrite this as root 8 plus 4 squared minus root 8 minus 4 squared. So root 8 plus 4 square will be 8 plus 8 root 8 plus 16, and root 8 minus 4 whole square would be 8 minus 8 root 8 plus 16. So that's 8 plus root 8 plus 16 minus 8 plus 8 root 8 minus 16, which is 16 root 8. The answer is y root 4y. So you bring the 16 back into the root, that's going to be 8 times 16 squared. 16 square is going to give us 256. So 8 times 256. 8 times 256 is going to be 2048. So to further simplify this, let's break down 2048. 2048 we know is 8 times 256. 256 is 8 times 32, and 32 is 8 times 4. This is the same as 8 square times 8 times 4. So 8 square comes outside as 8, and this is 8 times 4, that's 32, which means y equals to 8. That is your final answer. Then it says A, B, and C are points in a circle with center O. The radius of the circle is 8.5 centimeters and angle ABC is 132 degrees. Work out the perimeter of the shaded sector AOC, giving your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So if AO is 8.5, OC is also going to be 8.5. For this sector, we need its angle. Without the angle, we cannot find the perimeter with the length of the arc. So if you remember, angles at the center are twice the angle at the circumference, which means this angle is going to be twice of 132. So angle OC is 2 times 132, which is equal to 264. So for the arc length, we can easily do 264 over 360 times 2 pi times 8.5. That gives us 39.165 centimeters. Now they want the perimeter of the shaded sector AOC, so that's going to include these two lines as well. So perimeter is going to be 2 times 8.5 plus 39.165, which is equal to 56.2 centimeters, correct to 3 significant figures. That's your answer. Then bearings. The diagram shows a field ABCD on horizontal ground. BC is 192, CD is 287.9, and BD is 168. AD is given as 205.8. Angle CBD is 106. CBD, so this entire angle is 106. And the bearing of D from B is 38. Find the bearing of C from B. We draw our compasses at B and C to find the bearing of C from B. That's basically this angle. So we simply subtract 38 from 106 first, and then subtract that value from 360. So 106 minus 38, which gives us this remaining blue angle, 68 degrees. This is 68. And then for the bearing, we will do 360 minus 68, which is equal to 292 degrees. That is the bearing of C from B. Remember, the bearing is always written as a 3-digit number, never a 2 or a 1-digit. And you always measure the bearing in clockwise direction from the north of the point the bearing is from. Then A is due east of B. Calculate the bearing of D from A. Calculate the bearing of D from A. So all of this is what we need to find. So if you look at the triangle ACD, we can see we have all three lengths and we have this angle, which was 106. So using this angle, we can find the other angles. And as you can see, when we have a complete set of angle and length, we use sine rule. Cosine rule is used when you have all three lengths or you have two lengths and the angle between them. So over here, there's no point in using cosine rule because two lengths and the angle between them is used to find the third length. It's already given. Our focus is on the angles. So just simply use sine rule for this. If you want to use cosine rule, you can use that and just use the three lengths to find the missing angles. That's up to you. I'm going to stick to sine rule because that's going to be less time consuming. So our equation is going to be 287.9 divided by sine of 106, and that is going to equal to 168 divided by sine of angle C. This is what we're trying to find. So using this equation, we find the value of angle C. So that's going to be sine of angle C equals to 168 times sine of 106 divided by 287.9, which gives us sine of angle C, which is 0.5609. And then sine of angle C would be sine inverse of that, which gives us 4.1. So 34.1 is this angle. We can easily find the third angle by doing angle CDB will be 180 minus 106 minus 34.1, which gives us that's 39.9. So the 9.9 is this one. We have to find the bearing of D from A. And so that A is due east of B, which means this entire angle is 90. And a part of it is 38. So B is going to be 90 minus 38, going to give us 52. So this is 52. And again, we can apply sine rule because we have one complete set of angle and length. You can find angle A. Yep, and then we can add that to 270 to find the bearing. So that's going to be sine of 52 divided by 205.8 equals to sine of angle A divided by 168. So 168 times sine 52 over 205.8 equals to sine of angle A. That's 0.6432. We will find sine inverse of this to find angle A. That's 40.0. So bearing is going to be 270 plus 40, and that's 310 degrees. That's the bearing of D from A. The next question says the diagram shows a solid cone and solid sphere. The cone has a base radius r, slant height L, and perpendicular height h. The sphere has a radius r. The base radius of the cone is equal to the base radius of the sphere. Given that k times volume of cone equals to volume of sphere, show the total surface area of the cone can be written in the form of pi r square times k plus root of k square plus a over k, where a is constant to be found. So for this, we don't have any values, but we have variables assigned to each of these measurements. Volume of cone has a formula of 1 over 3 pi r square h. Volume of sphere is 4 over 3 pi r cube. K times volume of the cone equals to volume of the sphere. So K equals to volume of the sphere divided by the volume of cone. So 4 over 3 pi r cube divided by 1 over 3 pi r square h. So K equals to 4 over 3 pi r cube times 3 over pi r square h. The 3's get cancelled out, the pi gets cancelled out. R cubed divided by r square is r. So 4r over h is your K. We have to show that a total surface area of the cone can be written in the form of pi r square times k plus root k square plus a over k. So for the total surface area of a cone, the formula is pi r square plus pi r L. So we can replace r and h with something in terms of k using this formula, but we still need something for L that is going to be in terms of h and r. So let's use Pythagoras to figure that out, because this is your height, this is your radius, and this is your slant height, HR. So L squared equals to R squared plus H squared. L equals to square root of R squared plus H squared. So now if we take the surface area of cone, pi R squared plus pi R times square root R squared plus H squared. So pi R squared. So we have R squared in the equation. We need to get rid of H. So that means H equals to 4R over K. This is what we will substitute over here. So pi R squared plus pi R square root of R squared plus 4R over K whole square. Pi R squared plus pi R squared plus 4R squared over K squared. Pi R squared plus pi R K squared times R squared plus 4R squared over K squared. I combined it into a single fraction. And remember, the square root is on everything, even the K squared, not just on the numerator. So pi R squared plus pi R. If we take the square root of K squared, that gives us K in the denominator. And over here we have K squared R squared plus 4R squared. If we take the R squared common, pi R squared plus pi R squared bracket K squared plus 4 over K. So that's going to be pi R squared plus pi R times R, because square root of R squared is R. And then we have K squared plus 4 over here and K over here. So we can take the pi R squared common. So when you take that common, we have 1 plus root of K squared plus 4 over K pi R squared times K plus root of K squared plus 4 over K. I think this is exactly what they wanted us to prove. Yep, pi R squared times K plus root of K squared plus A over K, and A is 4. Sorry, with this would be 16, not 4, because I just realized I forgot to square 4. So this would be 16. This would be 16 R squared, again 16 plus 16, 16, 16, and 16. So A is going to be 16, not 4.
The question says that ABCD is a parallelogram and ADM is a straight line. Vector AB is given as A, vector BC is given as B, vector DM is half of B. K is the point on AB such that AK is to AB is lambda is to 1. So if we're saying that AK is lambda and AB is 1, then KB is going to be 1 minus lambda. So this is 1 minus lambda. L is the point on CD such that CL is to CD is mu is to 1. So if CL is mu and CD is 1, that means LD is going to be 1 minus mu. KLM is a straight line. So let's connect. KLM Given that lambda is to mu is 1 is to 2, use the vector method to find the value of lambda and the value of mu. So if lambda is to mu is equal to 1 is to 2, that means mu equals to twice of lambda. Now, if we talk about the vectors AK and KB, vector AK is going to be lambda times vector AB because AK exists on AB. So that's going to be lambda times A. Then if we talk about vector KB, vector KB is going to be 1 minus lambda times vector AB. That's going to be 1 minus lambda times A. Similarly, if you look at the vector CL, that's going to be mu times CD. Now, CD, if AB is A, DC is going to be also A. So if we change the direction, that means it's going to be negative A. So that's negative mu A. Then if we look at LD, LD is going to be 1 minus mu times CD, which is negative A times 1 minus mu. Now they're saying that KLM is a straight line. So if KLM is a straight line, we can say that KL is equal to some scale factor times KM because KL is a part of KM. KB plus BC plus CL. If we add all of these up, that will give us the vector for KL. Similarly, KM is going to be KA plus AM. We're going to use these two equations to make an equation in terms of lambda and mu, and then further solve it to find the value of lambda and mu. So for the first equation, KL would be KB plus BC plus CL. KB is 1 minus lambda times A. BC is B. And CL is mu times negative A. Now if we combine the A components, that's A bracket 1 minus lambda minus mu plus B. We've already said that mu equals to 2 times lambda. So let's replace mu with 2 lambda. So 1 minus lambda minus 2 lambda plus B. A bracket 1 minus 3 lambda plus B. So this is the equation for KL. Now we create an equation for KM. KM is going to be KA plus AM. KA is negative A lambda. AK was lambda, so opposite would be negative A lambda. And AM is going to be B plus 1 over 2 B. So negative A lambda plus 3 over 2 B. So like I said, KL is a part of KM. So KL is equal to some scale factor, let's say R, times vector KM. So A times 1 minus 3 lambda plus B equals to R bracket negative A lambda plus 3 over 2 B. So we put the A components equal to each other and the B components equal to each other. So for A, 1 minus 3 lambda is equal to negative R lambda.
And then over here, 1 equals to 3 over 2r. So using this equation, let's figure out the value of r, which is going to be 2 over 3. So we can substitute the value of r in this equation so that it's just in terms of lambda. So 1 minus 3 lambda equals to negative 2 over 3 lambda. Cross multiply. So 3 minus 9 lambda equals to negative 2 lambda. That's 3 equals to negative 2 lambda plus 9 lambda. Let me take this over here. So that's going to be 3 equals to 7 lambda, and 3 over 7 is lambda. If 3 over 7 is the value of lambda, mu was 2 times lambda. So that's going to be 2 times 3 over 7, which is 6 over 7. So when lambda is 3 over 7, mu is going to be 6 over 7. So remember, when it says use a vector method, basically you have to create two equations, and in every single case, we're talking about one line. One equation is going to be about a vector that is a part of that line, and the other equation is going to be for the entire line. And once you've made those two equations, as we did for KL and KM, then we can put a part of that line, the equation for that, equal to some scale factor or multiple times the entire line. Because basically that's what the diagram is also showing. So then using that, we put the A components equal to each other on both sides, and same for the B components. Simplify our equations, find the missing values, and you're always able to figure out your ratio or any unknown values that the question is asking you to find. The pattern with which this question came, that is the most popular pattern that comes. And if you understand like what you're supposed to do, you can easily score at least 80% of your marks in this. Then kinematics with differentiation. So there's a very high chance that this might come. I didn't put a separate question for differentiation in this version because through this question, you can also learn how to differentiate an equation. But in the second version of the 2HR paper, I'll add a separate question for differentiation so that you can be accustomed with like what sort of questions can come directly for differentiation. If you want more help with understanding differentiation, I made a separate video for all the different types of differentiation questions that can come. You can check that video in the link above. And if you still have any confusions, feel free to leave a comment below. So for the kinematics one, they can give you a question about displacement, velocity, or acceleration. In our case, it says that particle P is moving along a straight line. The fixed point O lies on the line. At time t seconds, where t is greater than or equal to 0, the displacement of P from O is s meters, where s equals to t cubed minus 9t squared plus 33t minus 6. We have to find the minimum speed of P. So you need to be aware of the fact that when you differentiate displacement, that gives you velocity. And when you differentiate velocity, that gives you acceleration. So they have given us the displacement function, and they're asking us for the minimum speed. So for the minimum speed, first we need to differentiate the displacement function to have an equation for velocity. So ds by dt is going to be 3t squared minus 18t plus 33. As you know, the derivative of a constant is 0. Hence, we don't write anything for negative 6. They said that we need the minimum speed of P. So for the minimum speed of P, we need to differentiate our velocity function now. Because once we differentiate the velocity function, then we can put that function equal to 0 to find what the value of time is going to be when the speed is minimum. Your speed can only be minimum or maximum when it's at the turning point of the graph. And at the turning point of the graph, we know that the derivative is always equal to 0. So let's differentiate the velocity function now. So dv over dt It's going to be 60 minus 18. Now this is the derivative of the velocity function. So we put this equal to 0. 60 minus 18 equals to 0. 18 equals to 60. 18 divided by 6 is t, which is 3 seconds. So at t equals to 3, our velocity function is 0, which means at this point, we have the minimum speed of particle p. So now to find the value of that minimum speed, we will substitute t equals to 3 in ds by dt, because that is your velocity function. So velocity is going to be 3 times 3 squared minus 18 times 3 plus 33. 27 minus 54 plus 33. That's going to give us a value of 6 meters per second. So this is your minimum speed. And with that, we are done with the first version of our predicted paper for 2HR. If you have any confusions, please leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you found this to be helpful.